Imagine working for 30 years or more and the dollar's getting printed and we're losing value of every day we spend on the dollar going to the store. So now we got this way of quantitative easing where the government gets to print all this money and we have to get the dollar getting devalued and then got to spend more at the store whenever we go out or want anything with expenses. That's because the dollar getting printed. It's just decreasing the value of the dollar. So we got to look at whenever money gets printed, the government first touch it and then they pass it on and invest it into the banks on Wall Street, and then they invest into these corporations, and that's why we have the stock market. So in 2008, we seen the market, the economy crash because we have come up. In 2010, they made this way of quantitative easing where the government is allowed to print money and give it out so they can boost the economy. Okay, so this happened now, and now we have ways the banks crashing the economy because they got this money from the government and they wanted to invest in bonds just because they seen the Fed and the government was doing the same thing. And now we got this whole way of whole population is in greed and buying. Everybody's buying assets so they can push the market up. But what the economy ended up doing was failing at the time. 2008 was worst times in the economy, and people wanted to go to the bank to go get a withdrawal. And the banks wasn't loaning out money. They had all their assets inside bonds, buying what the market was doing to go up so they can make an easy return. And now we've seen that after that effect, money and the money that they get down from the government, they didn't even put it into what the economy is and give out loans to the people so they can get mortgages and stuff like that. It's really money supposed to be really for people that after they touched it, the government, the banks, and then they have the corporations touch it, and then where's the rest to go to the wage workers. So they get to touch everything last after it goes through this system, and we find the fact that the money that we have already is not in the banks whenever we need it. So this is like the worst economic time I see. That's like we can really see plays like this play effect since the past. Like history repeats itself. Remember the Boston Tea Party? I remember that in geography. I think they went to war about money and power. It's always like that in history. We gotta learn when it comes down to things of the government and the war, it all comes down to money and power and greed. So this is what we've seen happen again. And we notice patterns like this happen in past tense in economic times, and fear as well. People were feared after these things that happen. They're going to go ahead and take their money out the bank, run to the bank, or they're going to go ahead and panic. Everybody's going to sell off their assets. We're going to make things off emotion at this point. Once we start getting into this fear and greed, we get decisions made off poor emotions, not really having logical sense. We can't have a logical sense because our emotions in the way. So this is all what the economy consists of. Here's why I invest in Bitcoin instead. Bitcoin allows me the freedom to finance and budget my investments and have appreciation. If we look at the past 10 years of the stock market, we've seen it had a pretty decent return between 5 and 10%. Okay, over time with the S&P 500 and Dow Jones and Nasdaq. Nasdaq is pretty good return as well. If you really invest in and look at the past percentage, those assets do allow you to be ahead of inflation for at least 10% by buying one of these ETFs or indexes. Okay, that's pretty good too. But then we got to think about the rate of inflation and how it's moving. Inflation looks like it's moving about 5% and 2.8% or more, and that is going up every year. We see the cost of living too. We got to look at that data too as well, and the consumer price index and job reports. Those all don't always got to fall in line with how the economic state is doing it, because we always have these fears of people having this. Okay, the economy is going to crash. It's going to have raining pigs. But now we see that if we look at economic data like that, whenever we need to really factor in on how the economy is doing, it all comes to us with innovation. So I believe that we shouldn't have a quick person making a quick decision in the government, or in the wrong person making a bad decision, or having too much greed inside the banks, or greedy corporations having more control of how the economy is doing. And everybody's interplay is greedy. Like the human emotion is greed. So I understand why government does and what corporations and banks do what they do. Literally, it's because they have the power and control to do what they want to, and that's how it all comes down to. Because if you had some business or entrepreneurship going on, once you had all affecting decision on what you want to do, right? Well, that's the same thing with having a business or having something that you own. You have your own innovation to decide what you want. So you might as well take advantage of it. You can learn from how they run business and see how you can do it. Add your own twist to it, add your own morals to it, and that's all it is. At the end of the day, it's always gonna prosper. I'm gonna say that to you because if it's made to be good and fruitful, it's gonna be profit in it, and it's gonna be good. Like if you sow good fruit on good tree, then you're gonna always be fruitful and you're gonna grow. So that's one thing when it comes to always starting something that you want to be growing and giving out to the economy. Like that's how you should always consider your service. But I invest into Bitcoin just because I allowed myself to get ahead of inflation. We can't only look at how stocks and all these other returns are looking, and not looking at the fact that Bitcoin's annual rate, if you hold Bitcoin at least 2 years, 3 years, 3.5 years, actually with the halving will be even better return. Overall, if you hold it more over time, your appreciation with Bitcoin is going to get longer. Okay, you're going to get way faster. You're going to get way ahead of inflation. You're not going to be behind. Okay, stocks, you barely making the inflation rate. Okay, you can have, the earlier you was in stocks though, you probably sure had a good return to beat inflation as well. But Bitcoin is surpassing inflation. So I'm investing into Bitcoin, save my money into Bitcoin every time I get paid, just because Bitcoin allows me the freedom, and a person that actually is starting to learn more about financial literacy as a biased asset to throw and get me ahead of the economy. Because I don't want to be behind. As the dollar's going up, the dollar's going down. Okay, so every time Bitcoin's going up, the dollar's going down. That's going to be always adding more than I lose. From that point, I can allow myself more opportunities to giving and spending where that needs to be going to, and having me some financial balance of assets. Because you don't always want your bank account staying the same and then want income. I mean, it's always good to have income coming in, don't get me wrong, guys, but you always want to be ahead of inflation at the end of the day. You always want to be ahead, because why not have the opportunity, the freedom, if you just had something going on too, but you're creating somewhere else another plan that's going to sit and do its thing. Like, you don't have to have too much control over it. And that's what really allows Bitcoin and efficiency too. It's always rare for you to have Bitcoin, and it's not going to have a lot of supply at the end. Whenever we see Bitcoin runs out of supply with the 21 million supply, and then we're going to run out. When the hash rate is going to have 3.5 every year, it's going to really slow down the rate of Bitcoin being made and being mined. And then we'll continue to buy these assets. The appreciation of the cost of the Bitcoin is going to go up. We've seen Bitcoin in like 2011 being like $100, and now we've seen Bitcoins 100,000. So that's like ways of seeing how Bitcoin moves. If you study it, see how much it moves 3.5 years after that happening, and the lowest it hit and the highest, we're seeing that Bitcoin surpassing even all these assets, and it's gonna surpass. It's already surpassing real estate as well. I mean, if you own Bitcoin now, I'm pretty sure you got ahead person as well, like compared to who invested in real estate as well earlier in back when it started. But I ain't gonna lie, Bitcoin is probably one of the biggest assets I've seen someone accumulate wealth whenever they started buying Bitcoin early. I mean, remember the Bitcoin story? Sold all those Bitcoins for a pizza, and how much those Bitcoins would have been worth today if you would just hold on to them, compared to him buying real estate at that time. So we can look at that. We can continue buying and looking at how these corporations are trying to buy Bitcoin, and the governments now, they already been having Bitcoin. We've seen the story with Ulrich, who started using cryptocurrency to fund his online business on the Tor browser, and how he got locked up for it. But now we got him back out here. I think they let him go, but he's the one that really innovated how cryptocurrency should be used on the website and really integrate that and had it really consider making it a big like transaction thing. So he tested out the blockchain. So he basically had movement on the blockchain network. And we see that people already was ahead of time on Bitcoin as a whole era. And I know I'm just now coming into it barely, but I feel like it's not something to not stop looking and learning into this, and we get more into digital and using online. Because people always say, what happens if Bitcoin goes offline and we get hit with an EMP like on Black Ops 2? They tell me, okay, but whenever you have EMP, you can always have your own type of cellular network or something that's on the hardware. Okay, say for that you can install a network card on your hardware device. You can have Bitcoin on your hardware device, meaning what's powered into the electric on the hardware already is going to already run. And if you get hit with the EMP, that's most likely like with cloud or something that's like with software. And if you got a network interface card on the hardware, we still use the hardware device to communicate with other people that's around you. So you got the same asset as gold. If people say if they had gold, it's a better asset, they can just trade it and they can get it for somebody who wanted it for cash or whatever resources that's used at the time, because we got hit with the EMP. In that case, you got the hardware, you can move it. If somebody else got a hardware for Bitcoin or a wallet they need, they can go ahead, you can send it to them. And yeah, it's a physical copy of your wallet and there's a digital copy of your wallet on Coinbase or whatever platform you use to buy crypto. Since quantitative easing that happened in 2010, we've seen that the government created trillions of dollars after this. And we see that it makes sense. Now we have Doge, in fact, in play. We got to have Doge in place for after you have all this government spending. So people that always get mad about cutting debt and stuff like that, overspending, that means that they're trying to get things away out of this system that's making too much money getting printed, because they printing that money that's coming for people that's not existing, that's on SpongeBob, makes characters and stuff like that. And like, what are these people with 88 years old, social security checks, fraud basically? And they got excuses to print money, bro. You think there's people in that system not taking advantage of what they allowed to do in their jobs? So like, that's a big thing. Whenever you work for the Federal Reserve, you actually controlling the money in the economy. And if you got power to print money, then they got power to do whatever. That's how I think about it. Like, how do we get these people in position to create money, make money? You got to look at where it comes from. Okay, so now we see that the value of the dollar keeps dropping. $100 today buys way less than it did 10 years ago. Okay, now if I was buying some asset earlier, like 10 years ago, and I started now, that asset, like stock, bond, real estate, would have appreciated. Bitcoin, whatever it was. Okay, so now stocks, bonds, and yields are tied all into inflation dollar. So if we look at how the dollar is doing compared to the bonds, stocks, and yields, we're seeing that the dollar is always going to be getting less of value because it's going to be used to invest into those other assets. So you want to think about it like a branch. You got one of the branch that starts the whole thing, okay? First is going to be the dollar. You need dollars to invest, okay? You start off with $1, and they create the dollar by printing the dollar, which is now first a loan. That you, after you print the dollar, you got to get a loan. You're in debt. So that's why it says in the Bible that whenever you borrow money, you always have to make sure you want to pay it back, because the borrower is a slave to the lender. Because the lender is always going to be giving and always loaning a person money, somebody, and then someone's going to always be paying them over time. So we don't want to be tied up in that relationship, because if we can do that and the other person doesn't pay us back, then now at this point, the whole human emotion and the whole point of life is thrown out the window. Was just focused on that material thing right there, and that possession of pride, greed, and fear, and a whole type of emotion right there. Okay, and it can get dirty, and that's why it's Bible warns us not to get in that situation. Don't get a loan if we can't pay it off at this point, or don't even touch them, don't even get along, use things cash. And now, once we see that the dollar is printed out, we got the government's hand on it. Now they own that loan. Now this is getting the dollar more devalued, and we're seeing it's getting printed and used thrown everywhere, and it's getting printed like that. Okay, and now just printing a bunch of money. Everybody's getting loans out to each other, and now we're seeing that the money that's not even we having is not really existing in the economy. We just keep going and leaning on the printed money. Now we seeing this slowly over time. The dollar, it cost and that storage is just rising. This means we're getting stuck in a system of sinking position, and was meant for you to sink, just because how that advantage of them having that much power to do that, to always print money and then use it into the economy and pay off people that's going to always make them money first, and then the rest scraps going to wages and work, people that work normal jobs like us. Okay, and now once that happens, we always going to see that prices and everything is going to get expensive. So you want to see that just because there's always a sinking system set up like that, you don't want to have too much power inside the dollar and only lean on the dollar, as you've seen how they set up that system like that with the dollar. Okay, I'm not saying people are set up and stuck into a sinking system, because I feel like we have the power and the free ways of creating innovative things into the economy, and we can have a huge hold on the economy if we all put our interests, like-minded people together and create something in an agile. That's what really boosts the economy. We are the economy, guys. If y'all really think about it, we doing the ones that's all invested into the economy. So we put all our energy, instead of increasing the system how it works, we could all do our own system and have a way in thinking that we can actually work how it's supposed to work. Everybody can eat out of a piece of pie, and people taking some and having it set up for only like these certain people can set up. I don't know how to really explain, but everybody, we put our own faith and strength into the economy like we already have, and really have more confidence in how we set up things and people as a community and God and Christ, we don't have to depend on the government or lean on the way the system is set up and how they have things, or for their assistance, basically. Okay, so we want to step away from that just because we see how it is living on a dollar, and just because that dollar just gets printed and you working for it after they then printed it, all these trillions, and then you working for the dollar for hourly, for low wages, is just not going to always get us ahead of how much money that needs to be paid back for all this printing. Okay, so we seen the solution to this is Bitcoin, with the fixed supply of 21 million Bitcoin that ever exists, and over 19 million already in supply right now. So we seen 21 million is not a lot, guys. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. 21 million is not a lot when it comes to the amount of supply. I mean, I'm sure there's like 21 million houses in America right now. The way that they've been building, they're putting all these houses out. Despite 21 million McDonald's out here in the U.S., and now we moving out. We got a McDonald's down the street. We got McDonald's down at Grandma House. We got McDonald's round by Uncle Tom. So all these McDonald's is really selling, having this real estate empowered, and where this money is coming from is getting printed to invest in these companies. You know, we got 20 million supplies of Apple iPhones. We got 20 million of graphic cards. We got 20 million of banks. Whatever, I'm sure all these money they invested into these corporations has already got 21 million something. So if we got 21 million of Bitcoin, we're gonna think that it's gonna run out of supply pretty soon. Especially as we see these people that's printing the dollar now, we see they invested into it too, and we seen that the blockchain network is getting more efficient. I mean, how a blockchain was made for it to be efficient and have no control over it, and have authorization based off the mechanism of how humans actually occupy, not someone being in between it and having control over it, and making a confirmation off each decision, and yeah, basically banks, governments not having control over Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Okay, and when we see that happen, we see that there's actually computers and nodes that actually confirm these, because the computer looks out for a lender, and a ledger actually is somebody that's going to confirm the payment between the two people, and they're going to be charging gas or tax fees for being the one that was actually confirming the transaction. So we've seen on the blockchain network, people get awarded for that, parts of Bitcoin or gas fees, and that's always going to be trusting and keeping the community safe on the blockchain network. So we're gonna always need miners and nodes and ledgers, and this is gonna always make the economy of Bitcoin trustworthy and efficient. Okay, we see no transaction gets let go accepted once it's confirmed with the IP of the home. The person is just getting the payment sent, and the IP of the person that's receiving the Bitcoin address. So that's the only way they communicate on the blockchain network. There's a ledger that confirms that, okay, and then it solves algorithms to get that solved in nodes, and then they get rewarded for it. I can't go ahead and say today the economy is doing horrible. We need to go ahead and make more money and flow it into the economy and invest into these banks and give it to little scrums to the wagers. Okay, they can go ahead and I say I'm gonna go ahead and print some Bitcoin. They can't do that. We can't go ahead and be like, okay, I need to put 100,000 Bitcoin right now and throw it into the economy and have them buy and sell it. You can't. Okay, once Bitcoin and already out with the 21 million supply, and it's already done mining every 3.5 years. If you see that there's no more Bitcoin being mined, you already too late to get and buy Bitcoin. So all the Bitcoin that's already out, it has to be sent and received somebody that already has it, or you don't have Bitcoin. Okay, this, you notice whenever stuff happens like this, it's easier for people and the asset to really get better, appreciate over time whenever it's scarcity of it. And that's what the economy has to be like. Things have to be scarce, and there's always have things that you got to spend money on at the store. That's why we got to pay for things, because there's scarce amount of supply of consumers, goods, and stuff like that. And that's why everything that's not free right now, we can't get stuff for free. Like, you got to pay for things because of the amount of scarce things. That's what they so-called, they tell us that the economy is, right? If things are so scarce, why are we printing the dollar every time the economy is so-called not being good, or the economy needs to do better? Okay? And we clearly see America and how the world is that innovated compared to how past was with engineers and things like that, and all the goods and stuff like that, how we do things. And it's clearly we are doing good, but now we fall into some type of decision that's going on with power, money, and greed has to play effect on it, and then it's depreciating the dollar. So Bitcoin doesn't allow that. Bitcoin allows its own freedom and push towards having no third-party CEO, no government in between it, and to confirm or do anything to pretty much throw off the data of it and add too much control off it. Bitcoin saves you time and energy. Instead of trading your hours or for money that's getting weaker, you can store it in Bitcoin, or I just buy Bitcoin whenever I get time, and I get time to free up money in the later run. That's how I think about it. Right now, free up time now to free up time in the later run. Because as we see, Bitcoin's already way surpassing assets compared to the dollar. So I'm not going to continue holding the dollar or having trust in the dollar just because it's manipulated, and the value of it is always going to be depreciating. And a dollar is good to have because you need the dollar in order to buy Bitcoin. I'm just thinking like I'm not going to always hold something that's going to slow down compared to the dollar. So if I want to get ahead of inflation of something that's made for us to always do value of, I'm going to be investing in something that's going to keep me ahead, and so I don't have to work as hard. Basically, I like to work hard and I like to have my fruits from me. I want to spend time with friends, family. I want to give out to people. I want to bless people. I have goals of doing things for my community that help me become where I am right now, and really people that need things, or I can help do something to somebody that can, okay, yeah, I did something in life and really use the power that I had, or not even the power, the Holy Spirit I got, so I can continue blessing other people's Holy Spirit, because I think that's how the Holy Spirit really works. You gotta have a way of spirit that you treasure and you give strength to other people. That's a blessing skill that if I have right now, and I know that I can use from God that He gave me and He got me out here doing, I can already do that by using the resources that I had grabbed on or I hadn't learned about or I use, so I can do that. And Bitcoin allows me to do that. It allows me the time, so I can always use creativity. When you have time, then that's where creative process and creative things come from. Your talents start coming from. And it's good that you have time so you can discover your real talent and your passion or whatever you really want to do in life, because if they don't have the time to do that, you're never going to find out what that is. So times, like whenever you free up from your job or your 9 to 5, and you can really appreciate the things that you have within you and your skills in you, and you can really bet on yourself. And it's good to bet on yourself sometimes and not always betting on something outside of it, or you putting too much work in something outside of your passion, because then you're just going to be really working and chasing something that you really don't want to do and not really happy to do, and then compared to you got something that you always like to do and you know you do, and you do it and you don't really have a love for it because you don't spend too much time doing it. And that's what we all come to in life now, just because we had to have time in order to do things we love, right? Or it comes really having really that courage to do it no matter what, just because even if you don't want to do it. So it's just a balance between that too. And Bitcoin allows me more financial freedom. It's like Bitcoin is like gold 2.0 to me, because yeah, I missed the chance to buy gold, yeah, or these other stocks or other assets, real estate. I'm 23, but Bitcoin allows me an easy freedom for me to get ahead of inflation without even having to think too much of how the asset or the platform works. Okay, so even though I know how the platform, the blockchain works, I don't have to know too much about it for me to just to get ahead of inflation. There's no me doing no math complication or solving anything for me to do in order to me to get ahead and appreciate what I put in and get more capital return or growth over investment. Okay, if I sit down and buy early and let time do the appreciation on everything, then I'm gonna be getting more over time. And the good thing is it can't be frozen or seized by government. And another reason why I buy Bitcoin and I save in Bitcoin is because I don't have to buy the whole Bitcoin. I can have $5-10 right now, instead of me wanting to go eat out or go do a little quick purchase of a game or something. I'm just gonna buy Bitcoin. Like, that's how I use my spending habit. I trick myself to like really pleasure stuff. I get things I need, and then if I always want to have something that I want to do, I always buy Bitcoin too. That's how I think about it. If I'm gonna go ahead and spend $30 on gas, I'm gonna go ahead and buy $30 worth of Bitcoin. Or if I'm gonna spend $120 on my electric bill, I'm gonna spend $120 to electrify the blockchain network. Or if I'm gonna spend $1,000 in rent, I'm gonna spend $1,000 in Bitcoin. So that's how I like to do it. Like, okay, I like to pay myself every time I get paid. That's how I think about it. I know it's like kind of like selfish, but you gotta think about it, because the bank wants y'all your money and they give out loans that they don't have money to even give out to you. And you saying that I'm selfish because I'm buying Bitcoin every time I get paid. And that's how I think about it. They want to get some of your loan. They want to put you on a credit card payment, so you paying them forever over time, and you keep borrowing instead of you owning the assets that you have and have something appreciating. So I get to use dollar cost averaging. It lets me slowly build my Bitcoin savings without timing the markets. So I can buy at 100,000. Bitcoin dropped down 20% next week to 80,000. Then I continue buying the asset at 80,000, and different numbers of Bitcoin I continue buying. The more I fluctuate savings, every time I save and I budget, it's a Bitcoin, and that's gonna make me ahead of inflation and not falling behind just because the dollar's getting printed and it's making it less value. And then we see the cost of living and spending is going up. Every time I get paid, I just think about Bitcoin as a flexibility. I can transfer it, I can send it, I can spend it. It's just a currency that really allows me a way to just invest in myself. After the 2008 crisis, we've seen that people had different ways of trusting the government now, seeing how things are working with the banks, and seeing how even jobs treat us with job layoffs is at an all-time low. So now trusting economy, government, even jobs is getting less over. We get more closer inside this age how we live, and we want to do things as humans. We want paid time off. We want that remote job. We want certain things for us to make decisions on the economy and how we live life, okay? No matter how much you think about it, it's not always set up for us to live in a type of system that doesn't allow us happiness or freedom. That's how I think about it. You wouldn't want to be in a system that doesn't have you feeling like you're doing something beneficial, right? Or you're not getting your cut of or appreciation, or I'm getting something over, or you know what I'm saying? You don't have feeling that you're getting that We don't want to be in a situation that we're not feeling that okay? So that's why it's always good for you to get assets so you can get that feeling that because if we don't feeling like that person of the year, then we're gonna be stuck on last year. So like I say, we always want our own lifestyle and where we live life and our own life balance from work, and Bitcoin allows me to think of that life balance. And I don't know, because if I wanted to take time or do things or invest in myself, it allows me to have that balance to go ahead and do that. Okay, just because I am working doesn't mean I'm not doing something right, because I know as a man we are meant to work. No point of me not trying to say I'm not, because they like to say Gen Z don't like to work, or young people don't like to work, but we do like to work. We just like to work smart, and we just like to work hard. And I'm going to continue doing both. I'm going to continue working, using as a person as a wage, and no excuse, just because the dollar is getting printed and it's going to be getting devalued, and there's trust issues with the government, economy, and stuff like that. I'm going to still use what I have and the skills and innovation and resources around me so I can continue to add to the economy and not actually take away from people. So if I add value every time they print, then that's going to be my responsibility, just add value. And as long as we do that, the economy is always going to be flourishing, okay? And we're going to always be flourishing around each other, because we are the ones that agile come together and complete projects. We are the project managers, bro. They need a new site or building, bank built. There's a project contractor that gets the job done. They pay them, and they can pay them the project and the wages and stuff like that, or whatever business that comes to. They need a development for something, a system of computer or technology. They get a project set up. So costs for employees, it costs for equipment, it costs for business to be done, guys. So we are the business. Why not reward ourselves where we're not having some type of control of any human factor of greed and fear on it? Then we can have that's always confirmed of nothing that's not behind it but blockchain, nodes, and basically mathematic computers, data, things that don't lie, okay? And then we see that once we have a way of doing that behind it, there's no way it can be manipulated or malfunction or tricked, okay? So that's how I really use Bitcoin in order to get on the path of flexibility and trust issues they say that's going on. I just continue working as a young Gen Z, you know, because working is what's going to be needed. It's going to be part of the equation of you getting and building your wealth. Your biggest income is going to come from where your work is and what you do as a career. So you want to make sure that you have a passion in what you do in your career and what you like to do. Number one, if you feel like you're waking up every day and not having some type of gratitude, appreciation of what you do, then I feel like you just need to take time for yourself, at least 6 months, I always say, of expenses or something that you can put time into. So maybe you sacrificing 6 months right now of you going out to eat or cutting on expenses or living with a roommate or something for you to do in the next 6 months to make you get enough capital to invest and appreciate over time in the 6 months right now. And you can have a way more work for you not to be working a simple job at the time, or you don't have to go out and work and punch in the clock. You coming up with a project that's going to take you 6 months, that's going to put you in a position for you to do now, and you continue doing that action in the next 10 years. So once we do that, it only takes us 6 months to get that done, and we can really start that real passion. But then after that 6 months starts, we're not just going to be living off that. It's not how it works, okay? You want to then going back to looking at ways you can get your career started or put some of that time into somewhere that's going to pay your bills, okay? And no matter even if the business or whatever idea came yet in that time, you got it started in that 6 months. And that's how I like to think about it. Like, you can change your life from 6 months to a year. And if you don't like doing something, you don't have to do it, my brother. I'm telling you. And if you think you have to do it, then I want to tell you one, slap you one time in the head and then slap your head in the back, because you're not gonna have to do that, my brother. That's because somebody around your environment is making you feel like that, or certain behaviors or certain ways work like how it is, but you don't have to be doing what you don't like to do, okay? And I encourage you to just don't fight that. If you don't like to do it, don't fight it, okay? Make a calculated step for you to get into something that's gonna take time, that's gonna make you happy, and figure out what makes you happy. First off, you gotta take a break from everything. Cut the device, cut the time extra away from something that you have the time for the next 4 to 5 hours you have a day. Cut everything and focusing on this inside you and God. That's at that point. Just you and God that 4 hours. Something's gonna happen in that conversation. Something innovation is gonna spark. And once you and Bible, you start reading in the Bible and start seeing what life is outside this world and what really matters, then you're gonna think like, oh dang. So all of this matters, okay, in this point. So nothing else matters at the end of the point of the world. Because now I seen that Jesus already seen that how human, he already did the calculation and the math. He did the study of why we do things and how human works and how we got here and what we're supposed to be doing and what we're not supposed to be doing. I'm going to skip all that. Now it's going to give me more innovation and creativity. Okay, I can add purpose over here, because us as a human species or society, we can do better right here. And it's going to do this for us. You know, okay, now I'm coming out, okay, this is going to be over here good, what we need more in our community, and it can stray us away from this problem that we're having in our community. Once you start thinking of how I'm going to start to solve a problem, is whenever you can start accumulating innovation and spark into doing things, and courage and strength and wanting to do it. That's what I believe. If you feel like you don't want to do something, and I know you have the power that you are really good at solving problems, you have tons of potential, but brother, don't give up or settle for things and stay thinking that the innovation that you have coming to you is not going to come for you in the future. It's going to come for you if you have faith and you change your attitude on things. Well, number one, we don't want to change our attitude and go into something new. If we change our attitude and go into something new, give us excitement, it's just going to give us a double-sized dosage of the percentage of wanting to get something done or require some more spark from being excited. It's just like it's like a crackhead. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, so whenever we see another piece of excitement in the brain doing something, we want to continue going and learning more about it, and we want to start throwing jabs at things that challenges we start getting experience and getting into that excitement. So whenever you have something in life, always be excited and getting into it. And not saying you should use that in a negative way. I'm just talking about there's new things that you really haven't thought about being excited for, and it could have some fruit for you. You should come about it being 100% you, honest, and trying to be excited about it for it, and really change your attitude on things, because our attitude impacts on decisions that we make. And if we can hold back the attitude and control more of logic and reasoning, and let God get in more between that logic and reasoning, and not lean on our own understanding, then start coming real ways of us making good decisions and living and how we want to, and not living on how we want to, but how we should. And when I say that the human, we all studying the body and how we mechanize and move ourselves, we all just want the same thing. We just want time, okay? If we had time, then it comes to peace, and then when it comes to peace, we'll be living better. We'll be having less problems in the communities. And yeah, all I'm trying to say is, don't let the system devalue your hard work. You got a skill, you got a passion, you got a talent. Use it to the best of you. If it's not what's working, don't settle for some amount of wage that you might be receiving for now, because you are worth, or no, really an amount of dollar to your worth. That's all I think. Okay? We can't tie ourselves to a network. That's why whenever we think about salary, that locks you into a certain amount that you can make, because you put all your time into making that salary. I never want to classify myself as someone being a salary person, because unless it's a salary that I have a decision on making for a month or a goal, because your salary can always change, really. Depends on how the economy, how you fluctuate, and the business is fluctuating. But it is good having a salary, though, if it's something you like to do, and it's worth it, though, the flexibility and the time and balance that you have. That's all I like to think about. Bitcoin allows me to weigh out, protects the future by opting out inflation, corruption, and broken promises. I save in Bitcoin so I can beat and be ahead and not behind. Yeah, I remember whenever the terrorist was announced with Trump and everything was going on with the markets was crashing and selling, everybody's worried about their 401ks and stocks. Okay, but people wasn't paying attention to how Bitcoin was moving compared to that reaction. Bitcoin had a little minor drop, but Bitcoin didn't fall drastically compared to tech stocks and bonds and the rock. Bitcoin was staying strong while the terrorist announcements happened and all these stocks and techs was crashing. Bitcoin, if you would have invested in Bitcoin, you wouldn't have been down a lot. I was investing in Bitcoin starting at like 92,000, 98,000, and every time Bitcoin fell down to 76,000, Bitcoin didn't fall as much as the other stocks that I was owning and the options I hold. So Bitcoin is a less and a riskier asset nowadays compared to crypto and stock or other stocks. And we always want to buy Bitcoin in our portfolio just because it can be a good hedge against inflation. If things crash down too much, Bitcoin is not going to call, or your cryptocurrency, it shouldn't fall as much unless it's one of those altcoins. I mean, people always say cryptocurrency is one of the most volatile assets besides its risk, but yeah, it will be like that for a minute now. And like we've seen in 2022, we could have outages like that happen in the future, but every time something like that happens, we always get back a big, strong push in cryptocurrency. So I'm not saying it's not as risky as other assets, but lately it's been less risky with bad news like terrorists, and we've seen that it's actually a good asset to hold now compared to other stocks now, because once we still get a sell-off like we've seen with Bitcoin, we're going to get a strong push back towards the upside. And if we do see good push, we always want to see good drops like that in assets like Bitcoin, because whenever we see that stocks are just going up forever, we're just going to be slowly getting up like the dollar. So at that point, we got to get in an asset that's low right now and does have huge fluctuation crashes. People say, oh, risky assets that fall. That's all of what it is. So like people like Dave Ramsey say, don't invest in cryptocurrency because it's too risky. Okay, I mean, I understand that. A person who's like goes at the older age and they already have put so much time into their careers, and then they just want to grow steadily, slow. It depends on what type of investment strategy they're going for. I wouldn't recommend this them saying don't invest in cryptocurrency at all, because we see historically that it is the asset that appreciates. We can't deny the fact that that is an asset, because clearly you can throw Bitcoin on an asset whenever you want to buy a house, one of the assets that you own. So we can't just be like, nah, we can't just look at Bitcoin or no cryptocurrency, because that's not an asset to have, but because they are fundamentally showing and technically showing that it is growing over time. So that's why it's always good to buy some Bitcoin and really dollar cost average into it. Every time I dollar cost average into Bitcoin, I'm thinking about if I put $100 in it today, it's going to be worth $1,000 in the next 10, 15 years. Or if I put $10 in it today, it's going to be $100 in the next 10, 15 years, guaranteed. Or if I put a band inside Bitcoin, I'm going to have 10 bands in the next 10 to 15 years. So I always want to think about it long, the next 10 years compound interest, because years times the amount of dollars that you invest equals compound interest and huge growth, depending on the dollar that the stock or cryptocurrency move and report towards that direction. So that's how you always want to think about it. Not now, but later in an investment, while your dollar cost averaging, putting your some minimum, smallest that you can put aside every time you can, while living on the dollar, paying expenses and doing things, investing into yourself, but also invest into other assets as well, like that, like Bitcoin. That allows me that time and freedom too, and trying what I'm trying to do as well into my innovation and living life as person with life balance. So this is why I invest into Bitcoin. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I be on Twitter talking about why I invest in Bitcoin, so make sure you check out my Twitter. If this is the only way I can get you interested into Bitcoin, we can get started really investing into Bitcoin together, because I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I wasn't investing into Bitcoin since forever, like how it started out. I just barely got onto it last year and really starting this year to invest into it. Now Bitcoin is at 100,000 to 80,000. That's where I've been starting to buy Bitcoin. So, and I've seen Bitcoin since 20,000 when it fell in 2022, and really didn't know much about it. And I always did buy in Bitcoin, but I just always sold it. I didn't never really have a way of buying and holding it now until now, and me dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. And ever since I feel like I made and making better financial decisions when just doing that, holding, storing the Bitcoin. And I always had it in me to start in 2022, but if I would have had more knowledge than I have now, then I would have. But it's just the same thing for you guys. You probably wouldn't have much knowledge on it, but now I gave you some guys a way you can learn more about it and start for you and see if it works for you. It may not work for everybody's lifestyle, but I just think it works for me and how I live my life and my goals and where I want to be. And maybe it might help somebody else to learn more about it and see how they can use it to help somebody else too. I feel like me telling about somebody I buy Bitcoin and me telling them to buy some Bitcoin is me telling them I care about them and appreciate their talent and their Holy Spirit of living and being human, basically. So yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you're gonna like this video, you're gonna like the next one.